My name is Alexander Fridman, and I am founder and CEO of company WAPI. That company WAPI has created a professional e-commerce community to boost your online trading business.
Hi, everybody. It's WAPI webinars again, and my name is Alex Fridman. Probably you already know me. I'm founder and CEO of company WAPI. We help sellers to go global to any country of Europe, and in any of these countries to act like a local. We help you with the warehouse, with the final mile delivery, and help you to set up your sales on the local marketplaces. And also what we're doing, we're helping sellers to understand how to sell more, how to boost your sales, how to be more productive and efficient. And that's why we do the WAPI webinars. Every Thursday, we invite a guest who will share his knowledge with us so that your business is more successful. And today with us is wonderful guest, Orion Avidan. Hi, Orion.
Hey, Alex.
How are you
It's really
doing?
great to be here. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, that's our second webinar already.
Yes, and we're going back this time, not forward. We're going back to the basics.
Okay, probably the basics will help to understand even more how to be successful for a
I
concept.
do think so, yes.
Today, our topic is the basics of inventory distribution. And if you understand what we will talk about today, probably you'll have possibility to increase your cash flow by 50% in 30 days. That's what we want.
And if you want help, I'm always here.
Yeah, of course. If you want help, a private one, you can always contact me or contact Orion. Always under the video, there are the contacts of both speakers of our webinar. So Orion, tell us a little bit how the things are going on. How is e-commerce booming at your place where you work?
So I'm situated in Israel. And e-commerce is really booming here. There's a lot of interest, a lot of growth. I think we are over the COVID here totally. Business are starting to get back to normal. There is a little bit of an aftershock with the distribution networks and the supply chains. But we're starting to see normalcy come back.
Yeah, I think nowadays there is a difficulty with logistics chain, with purchasing the new orders, new product with the production, and to know how to work with your inventory is crucial, absolutely for any business now.
I totally agree.
So we are open, we are ready. We want.
Okay, so let me get my presentation running.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put you on presentation mode so it's nice. Okay, are you seeing my presentation?
Yes,
Perfect.
We see.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the basics of inventory distribution. Now, we talk about inventory a lot. What we're actually doing is distributing this inventory. It's not enough to have inventory. We want to have it in the correct places. And usually when we go into e-commerce, even I myself, we jump in the deep end of the pool. We are immediately talking about how to ship and exoterms and duty and ships and containers and DDP and all these things. We start learning a ton of stuff about the technical process of moving inventory around. Mm-hmm. And we don't actually ever take a moment and stop to look at the basics of what does it mean? What do I want happening? Why do I want it happening? And I admit I did this as well. I jumped in the deep end of how to do inventory distribution and replenishment because I understood everything intuitively until a while ago I talked with somebody and he said, but why is what you're saying different than what I'm saying? And I was like, I know it's different, but why? And as I was thinking about it, I realized I have to go back to the basics, start from the very basics of defining everything. And we're going to do it. It's very quick, it's very easy, and I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, probably it is very, it's correct to understand the goal. What is the good and what is bad? What is the right work with the inventory and what is the bad, not correct one?
Yeah,
So,
you immediately lead me to the next
yeah. So,
slide.
please, let's go to the basics.
Okay, so the first thing is we have to understand what is our goal in managing inventory. And the goal defines the value of the inventory. And I'll start with this. This is a picture of a salt warehouse, salt for the roads. The goal of salts for the road, snow salt, is to clear up the roads when they're full of snow.
Yeah, it's very important in Israel, right?
They have a tiny one in Jerusalem for the snow we have once every year or two. Let's put this in the Kalahari Desert. What is the value of this huge building and all the salt, that special salt we put in it? It has no value at all. It is actually a waste of time, of money, of space. So only when we understand the goal of our inventory, and I know it's really, really intuitive, stop for a minute and think about it, because the goal defines the value of all your decisions. Let me give you another example. A client I worked with a few years ago was buying a gift product to send with his main product, with his high value product. We looked at his inventory and he had products that were so slow selling that he had inventory for 3 years. When his replenishment cycle, the time from when he decides to buy to when he can sell, was about 3 months. So he had 12 replenishment cycles on hand for those products. That's dead inventory. Money spent on buying the inventory, money spent on storing, managing, taking care of the inventory, and additional money spent on buying a gift product.
Yeah.
If the goal of his business was to maximize profitability, which it was, this was not profit maximizing actions. It was reducing value for the company. As soon as we saw that, he figured out how to take a product that the public didn't really like and turn it into a gift product, into an upsell, knowing that he doesn't care how much he paid for this product. It's not selling, it's not going to sell for 3 years. Any dollars he can make on those is profit. He already paid for them. Any dollars he can save on not paying storage for them is profit. So instead of expending more money on a gift product, he used his slow seller to boost sales for his fast sellers, and he freed up $300 into his cash flow within a month.
That's a good tip. Use your slow turning products as a gift to help you boost the sales of your top product.
If you have inventory that you know is going to sit in your warehouse for more than 2 or 3 replenishment cycles, you don't need to pay now for something you will sell in 3 replenishment cycles. Buy it 2 replenishment cycles from now. So do something to sell it right now, even at a quote unquote loss. Because you need that space, you need that money.
It's always difficult because you have paid for it. You don't want to lose the money.
Yes. Magic word is sunk cost.
Sunk cost? What is it?
Yes, a sunk cost is a cost that you have already spent and is no longer relevant for your decision making. It comes from investing in stocks. if you buy a stock of a company and the company stock is going down, you know, people say, I'm not going to sell out because I'm waiting to cover my cost. No, that money's out, it's gone. Now you can go out at 80% or you can wait to go out at 30%, which is better. If you look at the company and you know it's a regular fluctuation, it will go up later, stay, of course. But if you know your cost is sunk, leave. It's like if you're on a ship and you can push your baggage off, or you can drown with your baggage, which is better.
Yeah,
that's the source of
it's better to continue your journey.
Better to continue your journey, always. So the first thing we want to understand is, what is our goal in holding inventory? Now, just a quick thing that we all know. As we understand the goal of our system, we also understand the value of inventory. We will also realize, do we need to hold inventory? Inventory has a value. Holding inventory has a value when you need it, at the second that you need it, or else. Like the salt. If we say, no, inventory is waste of money, it's a cash flow burden, we will not buy the salt until we need it. Then when the snow comes in,
yeah, the price of the salt will be
the price of the salt will be high, even if it's not a problem. You can't call the salt producer and say, oh, I need it now. No, it's gone. It has to be here ready for the snow. That's the value of inventory, that you can get the use at the moment you need it. That's why the inventory needs to be there ahead of time. If your clients are willing to wait, for example, for a custom-made job, don't buy it ahead of time. If you don't need it there at exactly the moment of demand, don't pay for it. You're wasting money. And I wanted to bring this up.
You always think that you're forecasting. Okay, I think that I'll need the salt in November, so let's buy it in October.
Yes. So forecasting is always a process of managing risks. How much is the cost of the risk versus the investment? You never need to be exactly precise with forecasting, because you never can be exactly precise. So don't try. It's not about, well, I'm going to sell 10 units, so I'll buy 10 units. You buy if you think snow comes into this mountain in November, you're going to want to have the salt early October, because maybe this year it's going to be early. You don't take risks. Inventory is there to dampen down risks.
Okay, it's like an insurance.
It's like an insurance, but you have to think about it this way, because when we don't use this logic, we make the wrong decisions. We leave the risk and we pay for the inventory.
Okay.
Okay, so first of all, we talked about the goal and value, and then, so our inventory system is framed within a border. The inventory comes from the outside of the system and crosses through a gate or a pathway into the system. And the border of our system is the point where we start having control over the decisions. And you're going to tell me, yeah, I have control. I contact my supplier and I buy it. No, you don't have control. You're working with the person who has that control. Once the inventory crosses into the system, you have full control. I want this unit, and this unit to go there, and this to go there. You have all the decisions. And very simple day-to-day example, when we go to the supermarket, we have a cart. I
Right.
put something in my cart. It's still not in my inventory system. I'm still in the supermarket system. I can't walk out. I can't make a decision that right now I'm walking out. I can't open it and throw it all around on the floor. I have to pay for it and move it into my system.
Okay.
So remember, it's just important to understand this because the way we make decisions is different inside and outside our system. And different.
Can you share an example how this knowledge can help seller? What mistakes can the seller avoid by knowing that the part of his inventory is not under his control?
It's not a big thing, so I don't have something that pops into my head. But for example, when we decide how many units we want to hold, and you look at a lead time, you have much more control over your lead time within your system than outside of the system. So you need to take more protection. You need to take into account more risk outside of the system because you're not in full control. When I have inventory in my 3PL, that's in my system, I pick up the phone and call Mike or Joe or whatever at the 3PL, and I tell him I want you to ship it. He has 48 hours, 36 hours, whatever we agreed upon, and he has to ship it. I made the decision happened. When I call my supplier, let's say in China, and I say I want to order, he says, okay, pay me a down payment. And he doesn't do anything until I pay him a down payment. And then he produces it, and then he comes back and says, oh, you know, we failed the quality control. It's going to be 3 more weeks. I don't have control.
Okay. Understood.
Okay. So once, at any time, inventory has 2 types of movements. We can push the inventory like the ball going up the hill, or we can pull the inventory like the guys climbing up. And this is the point where I think we're going to get into something that people don't really think about, and it's really, really important. Now, these are in every inventory system. When we push inventory, like pushing a ball up the hill, we just make a decision. We decide everything, but mostly it's about the numbers. I want this quantity to move from here to here. There is no interaction with the market. Like the guy here with the ball, he doesn't see where he's going. What happens if he gets to the point, to the peak?
Probably.
I don't think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
So pushing inventory is mostly about quantities. And in real life, in physics, pushing is really hard. Pulling, on the other hand, especially in this kind of example where you're pulling somebody up to you, you're in an interaction. A pull system is not about the quantities so much as about the frequencies. How often are we going to check? How often are we going to ship? And an algorithm that decides the quantities for us. And we'll talk about it soon. I have a really cool example. And you can see the communication between the 2 people in the pull example is really good, and there is an interaction. And in inventory, the pull is between the business and the market demand, and there is an interaction. So pulling takes less energy and reduces your risk.
But still, like every seller looks at the market demand. I think there is nobody who doesn't think of a market demand.
Yes, but they're not interacting with it. They're looking at it. Okay. They're doing a forecast, and then they have a number, and according to this number and other parameters, they decide 50, 100, and then they push. We'll show it in a minute.
Yeah, everybody wants to know what's the difference between looking and interacting.
We're going to show it.
Okay, wonderful.
So let's do a real life example. Now, usually when I do these webinars, we talk about the big examples, buying in China, shipping to Amazon or a shop. But this time I'm going to go very, very, very small into a everyday example of toilet paper. Look, it's an inventory system in and of itself. And it's mundane. And first thing, which I said, I need a goal to set the value. So here's my goal. I do not want to get to this ever. When I'm using my toilet paper, when my family is using it, I don't want the cries, somebody help. So we have a goal, and the goal defines the value. Now, what is the borders of my system? My system is my house. I could have decided that the system starts at the shop, but just for ease of conversation, the system is my little apartment. Now, it's really important to understand something about the system, is that there is no one generic system. Some companies own the factories they use in China, and the system goes all the way. They own the entire supply chain. Others are really, really tiny. You need to find the system that works for you, the system definition that fits your situation. And again, my system, I have one distribution point. That's basically the balcony where I can store inventory, and 3 consumption points, and we're going to leave it at that.
Okay.
And okay, so we start at the beginning. When I moved into this apartment, my inventory system was empty. There was nothing there, no inventory and no information. So my first step was, of course, to have some inventory arrive into my system. And this is what I have at the shop next to me. Now, because of my situation, I have a shop right across the road, and my lead time for resupplying the system is basically 20 minutes. But even though it's almost zero, everything in this inventory system works exactly the same as a big inventory system where you have 3 months of supply time. My risk is simply lower. So inventory arrived at my system, and now I need to distribute it. I need to decide how to move it into my inventory locations. I have, as we said, 1 distribution point that can hold inventory and 3 consumption points. How much inventory will go to each one of them? I don't have any information. So just as an FYI, this is 40 units if somebody wants to count in the next pictures. The first step is to push. I have no information about my market, about my consumption points. So I have to use an arbitrary decision. I'm going to push. That's a push. And I can do all kinds of push. One is I can push entire 40 units to 1 consumption point. It'll look something like this. There are a couple of problems. One is that my interior design is not going to be very appealing. And the other thing is that I won't have anything in my other consumption points. So I'm going to have to buy more inventory right off the bat, right out of the bat, meaning the initial investment in this decision is very high. So I don't like it. I'm going to try something else. Maybe I'll distribute all my units, but I will spread them between the consumption points equally or non-equally. So it will look something like this. Still a little bit too much burden on my design. I don't like the look of it. But the bigger problem for me here is this. If the consumption rate is different between my consumption points, I don't really have a good trigger when I need to go and get more inventory. So I'm going to have to follow all 3 points all the time and maybe move inventory between them in order to make sure that I don't stock out. This is very work intensive. The final option is to push some inventory to the distribution center. So I'll push some to each consumption point and some to the distribution point. And it will look something like this. I will have some units in the bathrooms and some in the warehouse, my back room.
Okay.
And this back room, this distribution point, gives me data as I track each time one of the consumption centers needs more units. I'll just move it to them. This is a pool. The consumption centers are pulling inventory from the WAC distribution center.
Mm-hmm.
But I can track the inventory in just one location in the distribution point and figure out when is it time to get more. So I'm reducing my risk for stock out and reducing my workload.
Yeah, but you're adding costs for relocating the goods from the distribution center to consumption points.
Yes, I am.
This will higher the cost a little bit.
If you departmentalize your costs, yes, it might create a higher cost in one parameter. But we should not departmentalize the cost. We should look at the total cost. I bought only one bag.
Mm-hmm.
It serves everybody. I don't need to move between the consumption points. One of the things I noticed about retail brick and mortar chains is that they're constantly shipping between the stores because they didn't know for the first push which store will be the stronger one and which store will be the slower one.
Yeah.
And it turns out that this week or this product, it's exactly the opposite of what they planned, what they expected. And then they have to start shipping between the stores.
It's very interesting, for example, for the clients of WAPI, because we have the fulfillment network. So we have warehouses in every country, in Italy, in Spain, in Germany, in Poland, in Bulgaria, in UK. And you mean that it's better to have one main warehouse to put all the goods there at first and then to send to the local warehouses only the volume that needs this country?
Yes, you need both. You need both.
Because usually it happens the other way around. You push as you think to all the countries, and when there is a lack of some goods in one country, you relocate from the other one.
Yes, and then you don't know if you relocated from the correct country. So the idea is we start with a push. We have to because we didn't have any information in the system. And then we start pulling from our reserves. And what we want to do is to push the minimal amount, the smallest amount possible, and have a pull system to work with. So let me explain what is a pull system. This is a pull system.
I already thought that there will be this picture.
So it's very, very simple. The pull system has two parts. First of all, you have some of the inventory that is in service. It's on display in the shop. It's on the route to the clients in the distribution system. You can't sell it anymore. And then you have a buffer. The buffer is the inventory that you have in your consumption point. And this is what you're going to manage. And a pull system manages the buffer. It has basically three decisions to make: the size of the buffer, the frequency we're going to check on the buffer, and the replenishment point. Here I have a 3-unit buffer.
Mhm.
And I can check it because this is a system that is in my house. I can check it anytime I go into the point. I can check it once an hour, once a day, once a week, whatever I want. And then I have to decide, am I going to replenish as soon as 1 unit is missing from the buffer? Only if 2 units are missing, or if the buffer is empty? If I choose 1, I will replenish frequently, but my risk will be very low. If I choose 3, I will replenish infrequently, reduce my transportation expenses,
Mhm.
but I'm taking a big risk. Because the lead time in the home is close to 0, if I check frequently, I can take more risk. The most important thing but to notice here is that all these decisions are very easy to change. This is not a very complex algorithm. If I try it out for a few weeks, right now, one of my sons is away for a long time. And when he comes back, suddenly I'm having I'm having distress, and he's angry at me. And why can't it never be right, mother? I just change the numbers. I check more frequently. I add more units to the buffer. I replenish the buffer earlier. It's a decision I make at a split second. And it works exactly the same in the distribution center. We agreed that we think Italy is going to be the best market for this unit. We're going to put 50 there, and we're going to replenish it from the original, the cheapest location, which will be our distribution center. We're going to frequently replenish it, maybe once a week. And 1 week goes by, and 2 weeks go by, and 3 weeks go by, and we're only at 30. It's not good, and it's not as strong as we expected. So we're going to drop our limit. We're going to shrink our buffer. On the other hand, we thought 20 for something else, and after 1 week, it's at 5. We give it another week. 3. No, 20 is not enough. Put it up. Go up. To how much? I have a system that has rules of the thumb, but you can come up with anything that works for you.
Cool.
And
the pull system is the system where you analyze what happens with buffer and design the rules for your buffer.
A pull system focuses on when to replenish. How much is defined from the market, from the demand.
When to replenish the buffer.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, all our distribution systems, all inventory distribution is a combination of pull and push. There are situations where we have no choice but to push when we start after a stock out. And then we need to decide how much of the rest of the decisions will be a push and a pull. If most of our distribution decisions are push, when we get the inventory, we decide to send 80% of it to the different countries and leave only 20% in our main distribution center, which again should be the country where it's fastest, easiest, or cheapest, or the best combination of the three.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a push system. We have pushed most of our inventory to England, Germany, Italy, Spain, and we did it without knowing what's going to happen. We decided on the quantities. England is a strong market, Germany is even better, but Spain is only starting out. It could turn out to be the wrong decision for this product. Maybe Spain's going to love it and the British don't like it at all. And by the time we get that data, it's too late. That's the data flow issue. You make the decision ahead of time. This is why I like this graphic of the man pushing the ball and the ball disturbing his sight. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, you mean that you have to decide for yourself. For example, this article, the toilet paper must be stored, for example, in Italy, the minimal amount of buffer is 300. And when the amount comes down to 300, immediately the system must show you, please decide to replenish your store. And if the system interacts with you and gives you on time this information, you will on time replenish your buffer. If you do it only on how you feel, probably you will lose the moment.
Yeah. So what happens usually is that you start with a push, like like the example you gave, you push it 1,000 units to Italy and you say, when it goes down to 300, I will push more. I will make a decision of how many units to push, refill it up.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have smaller markets that get less. And what I've seen is that even if the smaller markets are a little bit slower, usually because they get less inventory, they stock out first and they get the refills. And by the time the strong markets get out of stock, the distribution center has run out because we pushed most of it in the first push.
Okay.
So one of my teachers, Dr. Ellie Goldrat, says that when you make a forecast, 50% of your numbers are going to be too much and 50% of your numbers are going to be too little, and 0% of your numbers are going to be exact. Some of them are going to be a little off and some of them are going to be a lot off, but none of them are going to be exactly where you need them. But if you're going to push your inventory based on those mistakes, and they're not mistakes, I'm sorry I used that number, that word, based on those predictions, which turn out to be inaccurate at some level, you will 50% of your units send too much to one location and too little to the other location, and the other 50% will be just the other way around. Yeah. So that's that's the risk.
The situation.
That's the risk of pushing most of your inventory at the beginning. Now, if instead most of your decisions are on a pull logic, you have a pull system. You decide how frequently you replenish, and what you do, because you have this buffer, is you fill up the buffer all the time. Go back to the 3 units in my buffer. So the demand tells me how many units I need to send. So let's say I distributed to the entire European market 20% of my units. And then Italy is doing the best. I check it every day, every 3 days, every 7 days. It sold 100 units. Okay, take 100 units from the 80% that I have left in my distribution. Then Germany starts picking up. You take the next one, and it goes all around. Because everybody starts with a little, and then you start getting signals from the market.
Okay.
And as we discussed previously, if I do that, I'm going to have a lot more shipping.
Yeah.
My item cost might go up. I don't get the discounts from my suppliers because I'm buying from them in smaller quantities more frequently. I pay more on my shipping. I have more. It's not actually true, because that means that I can focus my efforts where they're wanted. So first of all, my return on that investment goes up. Even if I'm investing more, I'm returning much more, and I can manage this. If right now I ship a container of one item, instead I'll ship a container of multiple items, but I'll stick with the container.
Mm-hmm.
So at the micromanagement, some cost factors will go up, some cost factors will go down.
And you have to look at all the picture all
You
together.
have to look, we're not in this business. Our goal is I've never had a company whose goal was to reduce the cost of shipping a unit.
No, the goal is when you work with the costs, you need to reduce the total costs on each unit you sell.
No, you don't work with the cost. A cost is a tool. Like a fork in my meal, the goal is the meal itself, how delicious it is. The goal of a business is to make more and more money now and in the future. More and more profit now and in the future.
Not just money. The revenue can be very big.
Mm-hmm.
You have to generate profits.
Yes.
And that's why you have to work with the costs.
No, the cost is a tool, because if we look at the wrong cost, we will make the wrong decision. If I can spend $10 and make $50, or I can spend $20 and make $300, should I reduce my cost to $10?
Of course not.
So what is important is not the cost, it's the throughput, the result of this investment, the money we're making.
Cool. Very interesting. So
And this is why we need to take a bigger look, a total look.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, the pull system intuitively looks like it will be much more expensive. It will have more inventory. But if you do the numbers, because you're going to shrink lead times, you're going to shrink the total inventory. And then maybe just reduce your cost by not taking a big truck, but taking a small truck. There are a lot of ways to figure it out.
So the main point is that from your experience, implementing the pull system in result gives you more profit.
Yes, most systems, most businesses that I have seen work on a push system. We're used to the push system. We all do pull actions. We all do replenishment when we can.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is how much do you push and how much do you pull, especially at the beginning. If you push most of your inventory right out of the bat, right out of the gate, you will have a push system, and the amount of profit you can get from your pull will be low because you will pull in the wrong places.
Because at the beginning, you don't know what will be the demand.
Mm-hmm. I have I've been working on a simulation that just does the push and the pull.
Mhm.
And everything is absolutely equal in these markets. Just a simple variability that you can get out of Excel by randomizing. And I can see that as soon as that the push system always prefers the smaller quantities. So whenever a group of stores or a store gets a smaller quantity,
Mhm.
it will get replenished first, regardless of if it's the right thing to do, because it runs out first.
Right.
And the pull system realizes we don't know exactly where we need each unit, so we wait. And we make the decision as close to the last minute as we can, making it much closer to the correct decision.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think rather not so simple to implement.
Oh, simple, not easy.
Simple, but not easy. Okay.
It
So
took me so much time to get to live with the fact that simple things can be extremely complex.
simple things can be extremely complex. Okay, Orion, is this the end of the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Everybody, you see Orion's email here. Please, if you have questions or you want Orion to help you to implement this simple but complex thing as pull system inventory, please contact Orion.
Yes, please do.
Can you stop sharing the presentation? Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Very uh, interesting idea to explain everything on the toilet paper. With the toilet paper, everything's every word here is now understood.
It's most people do this intuitively when they do their toilet paper.
Yeah.
But as soon as you get to the $500,000 container, I can do 3 cents less.
I think the most amount of our viewers will now check whether they have this buffer shelf for toilet paper at home.
Yeah.
This will be the first thing. This
Okay, I'm going to buy a stock and put it on the WAPI website as a product.
And the second thing will be how to implement this into work. I'm not sure how can implement this e-com sellers who have only one country and one warehouse, and they are replenishing their goods from China. And there is, for example, the minimal order that you can purchase, and if you purchase it by airplane, then it is very expensive. So you choose the containers, and then there is like the minimal amount that you can buy, and you bring all of this to one warehouse, and you sell it online. You don't distribute it to the shops. Then what can you do?
You can still do a lot with it because what you're doing is you're doing a full push. You don't have any. So the first thing you can do is don't sell from just one warehouse. At least don't sell
one country. You're selling it online. You use only one warehouse.
So, but you should sell from several platforms. Those are your shops. Even if your inventory is all in one warehouse, don't just sell on Shopify. Shopify, Walmart, Etsy, Amazon.
Everybody is doing this, but still the stock is stored at one warehouse and is
yes. So you need to pull on the other side. You need to pull from your supplier by working with them to reduce your lead times, and don't buy a container and then wait. So this is the next topic I'm working on, and it's what is lead time? Because we think of lead time as one thing, but it's actually made out of a lot of smaller sections. There is the lead time until we decide to order. And we can reduce this lead time basically to zero and order every time we produce a unit. Then there is the lead time to payment, because Chinese producers, they don't trust you ever.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the best relationship with them. They'll send you the pro forma invoice, and until they see the money in the bank, they don't start. And you don't ever take this into calculation.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you paid them, they're going to go and buy the raw materials. And that could take a long time, because then they have to do the same thing we just did with their supplier. So we can work with them to split this up and have a buffer of raw materials that we paid for. And as soon as we tell them, you know what, we need 100 units, they go and produce them.
That's an interesting tip to talk to your producer if you can buy in advance the raw materials.
My experience with the Chinese producers is that they are going to be much more flexible with you outside of the price. So instead of fighting for another cent, another 10%, and then they want MOQs that are larger and all kinds of things, talk to them about, can I hold my inventory after production on your site? And it requires systematic buildup. You need to realize that you're putting a buffer on their location, and then they will want a commitment. For example, I had a client that we agreed that we can order as much as we want, and they will hold it for us and ship just the amounts we want. But we have to buy it within 3 months. And then you have to realize that you're going to order for 6 weeks. So you have a buffer of, okay, over ordered this, I have another 6 weeks. And then the things that are going well, they will run out in faster than 6 weeks. You will order them again and again and again within that 3 months, and you have a rolling 3 months. It's not a quarter, a quarter, a quarter, a quarter. That's what they wanted. But you worked with them to build it.
Cool. So thank you very much. Wonderful webinar again. Maybe something very short takeaway. What mistake not to do? What you will suggest for a seller to think about and not to do this mistake?
Well, if you're working with Amazon, don't push.
Don't push with Amazon.
If you have a WAPI warehouse and you're doing FBA in Germany, you have two choices when you go into Amazon. I can send everything that Amazon lets me send. I'll push one to the maximum, or I can send a little bit, knowing that next week I'll send more, or even tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a very good example. This is exactly why Amazon Preparation Center service is working. Exactly what you said. In Germany and in England, clients are using our warehouse to store the buffer and to send to Amazon only the smaller loads of goods.
Amazon loves that.
Because Amazon is very expensive.
No. That's why the sellers love this. But Amazon, when it was built, they thought of themselves as distribution centers, not as warehouses. So it's like a supermarket as a distribution center, as a front line distribution center. You put in enough so that everybody that comes in can take it off the shelf and you don't stock out. But this isn't where you put the huge pallets that Kraft sent you filled with one product. You know, Walmart, they buy 10 pallets of Kraft crackers,
Yeah.
but they put 50 in each store.
Mm-hmm.
And they want focus on inventory turnover. Amazon is penalizing sellers, FBA sellers,
Yeah.
for having slow turnover. Oh, and they're penalizing them multiple times.
So if you're working with Amazon FBA, don't push your inventory there.
No, there's so many ways that is going to hurt you.
Wonderful tip, wonderful webinar, wonderful Orion. Thank you very much for being
Okay,
here.
so just write down next time Orion has to talk about lead time.
The next webinar will be about the lead time. So thank you everybody who was with us today. If you have any questions about fulfillment, about delivery of your goods, about distributing your goods among all the countries in Europe and not sending it from one place to all Europe, but to send it very fast and very cheap of each country, you can use WAPI, you can call us, you can send an email to me, to our company, and we will be glad to help you. And if you have the question how to deal with your inventory, please contact Orion. You'll find her contacts under this video. Thank you very much.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Orion.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye.